Hello and welcome to Basildon's Retire Well TV. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, with my good friend Simon Rogers here today. Simon, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing great, thanks, Paul.
It's good to see you again.
Same here.
So listen, I got to ask you, so I understand you played a little bit of tennis in school.
Yeah, actually not in school or for school. I wasn't quite good enough.
So it's post-school?
Well, before, and tournaments before, but I went to USC in Los Angeles, and they were one of the top teams in the country. So I kind of picked it up a little late, around 12, and I just couldn't quite get good enough to make that team. But I worked out with the women, so
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
And so you went on to do some coaching, I think, later on, right?
Yeah. Back then, I wasn't always in this profession, so I started off. I honestly didn't plan my career terribly well. So if any viewers are out there, don't take career advice from me. But I started off. I thought I wanted to be an engineer, and I was at aerospace engineering at USC, and then I changed it, and I thought, what do I want to do? I don't want to be stuck in an office. I want to help people. And what I was most passionate about was playing tennis. I'll learn to coach tennis. Went to a college for that. My first job was coaching the Junior Davis Cup team in India. So I flew around the other side of the planet.
Wow.
First job out of college.
Yeah.
And stayed in that profession for just a couple of years. And it took me to realize that playing and coaching are very different. And
Sure.
I loved playing. I liked coaching, but I didn't love it. I wanted to be on that court. I wanted to, be in that moment.
Yes,
and,
the competitive juices get going, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you're coaching it and you're a player,
yes,
you're just like antsy on the sideline. Like,
yes.
I want to be out there,
Yes, yeah.
So there's a little bit of frustration there. But, so then I eventually figured it out where I got a mind that needs the complicated stuff. That's why I was into engineering, and the heart was where it drew me to tennis, help people with a passion. And in India, these boys were wanting to play for their country, for Davis Cup. So they had dreams. And what better thing to do is to help somebody fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no better feeling than that, is there?
Oh, my gosh. No. So we worked incredibly hard over there, 6 days a week, 2 practices, morning and noon. Like in the evening, we're up at 5:30 in the morning, running on the beach, 115 degrees. Whew. Just killed myself to help these boys.
Yes.
Realize their dreams.
Right.
But I brought my physics books to India. No joke.
Wow.
I still have that physics book that I brought over there because I just needed something upstairs.
Yeah.
And then this profession gave me both.
Yeah.
Because the complicated plans that we do feeds my brain, but then seeing the results of the plans and my clients enjoying their retirement and doing all the things they wanted to do, going on trips, visiting the grandkids, it's like that lights up my heart. And I'm like, okay, this is cool.
So at what point were you in your career with tennis and teaching kids in India where you decided, you know what, I think I want to be a financial advisor? What motivated you to go in that direction? Yeah,
that's a great question. I didn't make the leap from tennis to financial advisory. There was a block of business I did in between. So I got into business.
Right, okay.
And worked for some companies down in Georgia. I just reversed it. I went back to kind of like the engineering thing where I was making my head happy with all the complicated business stuff I was doing, but there was no passion. My heart wasn't getting fed. I couldn't see how it was affecting people in a positive way. So that lasted a few years, and then I kind of finally figured out this profession that gives me both.
So is that need really to give and to help people?
Oh my gosh!
Is what drove you.
Yeah, I have to have that. I have to, or I don't care how much money I'm making. I'm miserable. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I find, just intriguing about you, to be honest, Simon, is your passion for people and how much you do care about helping them achieve their financial dreams. Yeah. So to open that up, so let's say I'm considering maybe a new financial planner. Yeah. Or maybe even a second opinion. I don't know if I'm in the right spot.
Yeah.
If I met with you, what type of things would I need to bring with me for that first meeting?
Okay. Just the typical, like your statements, your investment statements, 401ks, IRAs, that type of thing. Have an idea of what maybe your bank balances are if you have CDs there. We do ask to bring your tax return, which is what often other advisors don't look at. And we do ask for you to bring your Social Security and especially pension statements. Even if you're not collecting Social Security, especially if you're not collecting, because we'll do Social Security planning for you to optimize and maximize your Social Security income.
That's incredible. So Social Security planning is another service that you offer as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say that we're, I started in the business working for a big firm. And, they're a company, and they're a company in it for profit. And so kind of what came down, top-down dictation of, you're an advisor here, and you can only do X, Y, and Z, and we want you to do A, B, and C, because A, B, and C makes the company money. X, Y, and Z makes us no money and exposes us to liability. For instance, we don't want you doing Social Security planning. We don't want you to do tax planning. We don't really want you to get involved in estate planning and work with an estate planning attorney, because only things can go wrong there from a legal standpoint, and the firm could get sued, and there's no revenue you're generating. So we want you to spend your time on revenue generating things.
Well, Simon, how could people have an effective plan without those things?
Exactly. Yeah. That was my thought. When I had some very good mentors. I mean, I'm somebody who always looks and thinks and questions things, and I'm not satisfied. I analyze things to death, and I mean, it's taken a while for me to be okay in my skin with that kind of mentality. But but it propelled me to open up my own firm, and that kind of questioning attitude and some great mentors I had that kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, this is the other side of it. And so I knew my days were numbered at that firm. I could not rest at night, sleep at night, look at myself in the mirror, knowing that, I felt good work for my clients. Sure. But when I figured out that I could be doing better work by adding these other services, that I was like, my days, I know myself. I'm like, it's got to be the best I can put forward for somebody. And so I knew it was only a matter of time and I was out of there. And
so there was a critical piece missing, basically. In essence,
number of pieces. Yep.
Interesting.
Number of pieces, and that propelled me to do the hard work to set up my own firm, which is very, very difficult, honestly.
No, I can imagine. Definitely, small business and all the stuff that goes into it is definitely challenging, no doubt. Well, listen, I understand you have a special offer, a complimentary visit with you and your team.
Yeah.
Would you share that with the viewer?
Yeah, sure. For those of the people tuning in today, I would imagine that you're probably tuning in because you've either got questions or you feel at some level that something is not quite right. You either know it up here and you know exactly what's not quite right, or what you're questioning, or down here in your gut you're like, I'm not sure. And you may be working with another advisor, you may not be. Our offer today is just to come in and meet with us, and you can ask any questions you like. So just a wide open kind of buffet, whatever's on your mind, whatever's bothering you, whatever you want perhaps a second opinion on, or, hey, I've never even been asked by this. I'm working with this advisor, and they never asked for my tax return. They never maximize my Social Security. I don't think they do that, but also I'm not really ready or sure I want to leave my current advisor. That's fine. Just come in. We'll get to know each other. We'll do what we say we're going to do. We'll deliver the maximization of your Social Security. We'll deliver a tax-efficient plan or a full written plan, whatever that meeting turns out to be, and we'll do it at no cost and no obligation to you. So a complimentary visit. And again, I mentioned this in other shows. The reason why we do a complimentary is because we're looking for a certain client, and you may not fit that. And it's not because you don't have millions of dollars. That's not the criteria. It's because we do a certain number of things, and we feel we focus on those and do the best we can at that. And if you're somebody that needs other certain services done, and that's not in our wheelhouse, we want to defer and not take you on because we want to be able to, we want the client that fits what we do day in and day out so that we feel we can do the best job for you. We don't want to bring on somebody that we're going to do a pretty decent job. So we want to be in the wheelhouse. So, you know, it's not coming in is not a commitment that we'll take you on as a client. In fact, we want you to leave your checkbook at home. Come in, talk to us. You can kick the tires, get to know us. We'll get to know you. We'll figure that out. And if it transpires that you do want to become a client and it's a good fit for us too, wonderful. We can cross that bridge when we get to it if that bridge comes up. But this is a chance for you, whatever is the reason you're watching this show, because there's something missing. Is a chance to come in and get that taken care of so that next week when the show's on, that is gone. That feeling is gone and you have it answered and you've got it resolved. If you don't pick up the phone and call and set up an appointment, guess what? Next week, nothing is different. You have that same knot in your stomach and gnawing thing that is like, there's something I know that isn't quite right.
Powerful.
So
yes.
That's what we're offering today.
Yes, fantastic. Listen, you just heard a great explanation how important it is, how powerful it is to pick up the phone and call Simon and his team. 877-441-4901. We got to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to talk more things retirement. Stay with us.
Both my parents started off as university professors in England, so I think teaching's in my blood. What we do is very complicated, but we lay it out in a way that is very easy to understand.
It's just a matter of being able to convey the information that they need most to make the best decision for them.
You don't have to do what we do for a living to take a look at our plan and within a couple minutes totally grasp it. When you're teaching, you're really helping somebody learn. So I have a genuine love and desire and kind of a need, really, to help people. I think that comes from my heart. In England, you name your house like we name our dog. Every house has a name. And the house that my father was born at is my grandmother's house, and the name of her house was Basildon. Whenever I was over there, I felt safe, and I felt loved, and I felt taken care of, and I felt everything was okay. I strive to have our clients feel that same way.
Should something devastating happen, the last thing that they need to think about is, am I covered? Am I secure? How is this going to affect me financially? I think they need to focus on being well and spending time with the ones that they love.
They feel secure in that they can depend on us to do what we say we're going to do to help them make the decisions that they need to make.
Hello and welcome back to Basildon's Retire Well TV. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, with my good friend, Simon Rogers. Simon, incredible first segment. Thank you for such incredible information. We were talking in the break a little bit, and I know on everybody's mind out there is this topic that, nobody likes to talk about. It's one of those topics under their breath, taxes, right?
Yeah.
But boy, we really got to start thinking about what the future is going to hold here as a nation, and what we can do to make sure we can hold on to as much of our funding as possible. Yeah. So share with the viewer maybe the main differences between, say, tax planning versus tax preparation.
Yeah. Tax preparation is just kind of putting your tax, the year is over, right? And you give your documents to your CPA and they put it on the return and that's it. That's preparing your tax return. Tax planning or proactive tax planning is kind of going, okay, we just filed our taxes. Now let's pause and meet with the CPA and financial advisor together, and maybe even an estate planning attorney if you want to look at the estate plan taxes too, and see what path are we on? Are we on a path where we're heading for disaster? Or are we okay? Or is it depend on what happens with the tax rates? there's some we've been doing Roth conversions, for instance, which are a tax strategy for our clients for, probably about 15 years now. So I was onto it. And I remember I grew up in Connecticut, and then we went to the city, and there was the tax, or not the tax, but the debt clock in the city. And that was like under a $1 trillion at the time when I was in high school in the early 80s.
That was a long time ago, huh?
It was a long time, dating myself, but it's, now it's like ridiculous.
Yes.
And
it's mind-boggling is what it is. It's just,
it's scary. It is, so the income tax came out in 1913, and it was 7%. By 5 years later, 2018, it was 77%, the top income bracket. And then from 1936 to 1980, it never went below 70%. And in 1945, it was 94%.
wow.
And this is shocking. Now that last, many of us may not have been around or just very infants in 1945 at 94%. But, everybody probably watching this show, and myself included, were here in 1980. And in the 70s, it was like 70% or north of it. We're about half that tax rate now. So there's a lot of ways to go where it could go up. And what we've done to the debt is just exploded it. We'd do this section and the next one on taxes. Because to me, it has been an alarming situation for well over a decade for myself, for me personally, but also for my clients.
Yeah.
And we've been doing proactive tax planning for that length of time for our clients. Now that COVID hit, and we just stroked $7 trillion last year alone.
Yeah.
It's now insane. It is almost inevitable that taxes are going to go up. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, and I can't guarantee or predict what's going to happen. But if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would say, oh my gosh, the government's going to have to do two things: is slash spending and increase taxes, and it's going to take decades to pull out of this.
And it's probably a better idea to at least be prepared.
Oh my gosh!
If it doesn't happen, you're still holding on to more money, which is an important thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the viewer would find that incredibly important.
Yeah.
Definitely, taxes is on the tip of most people's tongues, How about, some folks really believe that their tax bracket would go down, like, say, when they retired. Do you always see that being the case, that a person's tax bracket goes down?
That's we do see that happen. I hate to give percentages, but it's probably roughly 50-50. But, because they're usually need less money, right, than when they're working, because they get to that point, the house is paid off. You're never going to go to your boss and go, hey, I just paid off my mortgage. I don't need this big a paycheck, right? You're going to keep taking it.
So, you don't have to pay me as much anymore. Don't worry about it.
So you got this big surplus usually the last few years, 10 years maybe, or whatever, your life of your working career, and then you retire, and then Social Security and maybe some savings that will get you to cover the expense nut that you have. So in that case, and Social Security, and that this is what's so important to realize, that we do our best to educate our clients. So we have three categories of money. We have non-qualified, which is like your non-retirement money. It is money that you had excess in your paycheck and you put in the bank, and then maybe you opened up a brokerage account, or maybe you kept it in the bank and opened up a CD. You paid your income taxes on that. If that grows and produces capital gains or dividends or interest, you pay taxes just on those gains. You have your retirement money, which is your 401ks, 403bs, and the like, where you've deferred your money off your paycheck into those accounts. You haven't paid your income tax yet. So that money is 100% taxable. And then you have Roth, which I'm a big fan of, have myself, that you've prepaid the taxes into that. It's a retirement account, but it grows income tax free. So when we get a new client into the office, we kind of start from scratch and we start to educate, and so that they understand, because I've said it before in other shows, that I work for them. They're the boss of my office. This is their money and their life and their choice, not mine. So I have this drive to get them educated, perhaps certainly not to my level, because that's taken decades,
Sure.
but enough to where they grasp stuff and they can make good decisions for themselves. And obviously we would make recommendations, but I want them to understand those recommendations.
Yeah.
So we talk about those three, getting back to those three types of money. You've the non-qualified that gets taxed on the growth, the qualified,
Okay.
which is you've never been taxed on it, and then the Roth. And so if you had a bucket of 100,000 in all three of those and it grew to $1 million, the first one, you pay income tax on the $900,000 gain. The second one, you never paid tax on the first 100,000, so you pay on a full million, and the Roth, you pay no taxes at all. So which one, by far, is the Roth is the most valuable?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you remind, we're going to take a short break here, but would you remind the viewer the complimentary offer you have today for them if they reach out to your team today?
Yeah, sure. For those, since we're talking about taxes, we can do a tax analysis for you and look at your investments and show you, because, you know, what we often think is like, okay, I don't want to pay taxes now, and let me minimize my taxes now. Let me defer my RMD. I don't need that money, so let me not take it. But what may be in your best interest might be the exact opposite of what logic says. So yes, you don't need your money from your retirement accounts now. So you're going to just wait until you're forced to take it out with your required minimum distribution, which is now at age 72. What might be in your best interest is to start converting that money now to a Roth account that will never be taxed. But we don't know that until we can do a full analysis for you. And we'll sit down and explain everything and show you. I'd say probably half our clients are doing Roth conversions. It's not, I guess, beneficial is the word for most clients. So not everybody does it, but we explore it for our clients. We will explore that for you if that's of interest. I urge you to do that because, you know, it's what we don't know that comes back to bite us. This can be a huge benefit to people. If it's not a benefit for you, we sit down, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
We'll tell you, hey, we wouldn't recommend this.
I like that.
I
like that a lot. Hurry up, pick up that phone. Call Simon and his team. Lots of information to cover here, right? But we only have a short period of time to cover it. The number is 877-441-4901. We'll be back after these short messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hello and welcome back to Basildon's Retire Well TV. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, with my good friend here, Simon Rogers. And we're coming to the end of our time. We're in our last segment, and I could listen to you forever, Simon. But I wanted to get back to you about changes in the tax code. I guess the CARES Act, there's some changes coming, right?
Yeah. Some changes that have been implemented. So I mentioned in the last section that the required minimum distribution time, that's your qualified money, your 401k, IRA money, that the IRS has never taxed. They impose, for those of you who don't know what that is, an RMD or required minimum distribution. They want to get their pound of flesh. So it used to be for a long time, when you turned 70 and a half, you had to start taking money out of this account, whether you needed the income or not. And the withdrawals were potentially taxable. It all depended on what other income you had. They just changed that with the CARES Act to age 72. So what they also changed was the ability to stretch your IRA. So one of the planning techniques we used to use for decades now that we really we can still use it but can't use it, is to stretch an IRA. So we leave a chunk of money to a child or a grandchild, and we can put a stretch election on that account. And so when that child or grandchild inherits it, that they have to take distributions of it each year. They can't just pull it all out at once.
Fascinating.
What the CARES Act just did was to take that away and basically say anybody who inherits an IRA, like the next generation or 2 generations, they have to pull that money out within 10 years. And that has opened up the door for other planning techniques, because if you can imagine, let's say your kids are earning, you got a son and married, and they're bringing in $200,000, and you have $1 million that you leave them in an IRA, and they have to pull that out in over a 10-year period. You can push them up into a much higher tax bracket because of those distributions. So there's other planning techniques if that's you. That's why not one size fits all.
Right.
And why it's important to meet with us or a firm like ours. It's a small boutique firm that's independent, that's holistic, that kind of takes everything into consideration, because you don't know what's going on. There's so many things that have changed just in the last few years with the Tax Act.
Yes.
That can affect your plan. Yeah. And maybe none of that was in your plan to begin with.
Right.
But maybe now you want to go down a different road because of these changes.
Yeah, and let's be honest. When was the last time we checked?
Yeah.
Maybe
most
it's
people
been a while.
haven't. Yeah.
Right. It's an important part.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up to the end of the show, and I do have one question. I do have a viewer that called in and said, is there a way to retire early without penalty?
Oh, retire early without penalty. Well, with the qualified money, there's a 59 and a half age where if you're taking it out before then, there's a 10% IRS penalty because you withdraw it too soon.
Right.
If it's in a 401k, the age is 55, where you can start to access it. But there's some details in that, so I don't want to give blanket statements here.
Yes.
Because we're running out of time in the segment, but we're also there's some criteria behind that. So
all the more reason for them to call you and get that customized appointment, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep.
Before we go, share with the viewers again today what you're offering.
Yeah. We'll sit down, do a full complimentary review. We brought up a lot of things in this segment with taxes and some other issues, but whatever's on your mind, if you want to sit down and pick our brain and just have at it. Throw any questions or anything at us. Get whatever is not resolved inside, whatever you're worried about, concerned about, answered with us.
Right.
On a complimentary basis. We'll be happy to do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah.
Listen, Simon's shared some incredible information today, and there's one question that remains. What will your tomorrow look like? Find out today by giving Simon and his team a call, 877-441-4901. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Be careful.